You know, I think each season of anime has gotten to the point where you can almost guess what we're gonna get. Another season of Gundam, check. Sequels that don't get any attention, check. One or two overhyped shows, check. And a ton of cute girls doing cute things, yet another check. And with this spring, we got that with a few others. With the miniature One Punch Man, Trigger's attempt at revival, Attack on Choo-Choo Trains, a man that is too cool to follow the laws of physics, a horrible cast of characters, a cute girl doing cute things with a bear, and a lot of pointing. And even though I think I'm a little late for this season, I'm going to help wade through many of the shows that this season has to offer to help filter out a lot of the crap, but I'm not going through all of them, and except for a few, I watched only 3 to 5 episodes for each show, so if things happen past that and it gets worse or better, then I wouldn't know. But I am judging the shows based on those episodes that I did see. But that is enough talking, let's get into my spring 2016 anime impressions. Not really sure where to start out with, but hey, let's hop on the hype train. No, you see what I did there, I'm sorry. But yeah, unless you are living under a rock or just don't care about seasonal anime, you'll know that Kabaneri, or habanero, of this spicy fortress that my friends call it, is basically Attack on Titan with trains. I'm sorry to get tired of hearing that, but honestly, it's kind of true. For many plot points, and the entire basic plot of Attack on Titan is in this show, and also aspects of Owari no Seraph, which of course is, all 3 of them are made by WIT Studios. Nonetheless, it's still a fun, exhilarating ride with great music, art, and action scenes so far but I will say I do like the characters more than Attack on Titans for now. Where the MC isn't a hot-headed little brat, and the show does, I feel, start out better than Attack on Titan 2, but the world building is kind of weak so far, and also I'm not really sure where the show is going. It seems to be literally going on one track, and that's it, where Attack on Titan had a track and knew where it was going, had a plot, but it just went nowhere. Still, I'd give this show a nice dead dog out of 10, and I'm going to keep watching it. Looks like Mr. Leo of Kankeki Sensen decided to move and start his own supernatural detective agency, but this time it seems he's a little more prone to suicide, and also there's a little more story too, but it feels a little hollow and generic, also somewhat rushed, having this whiny magical kid falling into this organization through a magical power he somehow obtained, and a strange power nonetheless. We also get to see the MC's backstory about 20 times in the same flashback. Also, the time the show starts to get a little dark and somewhat interesting, it starts glossing over it with jokes, or characters have plot armor, which takes the tension away the show had. Also, the Mr. Leo seemed to have an knack for suicide jokes, which, for me, I just didn't find it funny. Maybe that's just me. Suicide jokes aren't really that funny to me. Nonetheless, I give it a giant blue tiger out of 5. Only watch it if you gave Kankeki Sensen an 8 out of 10 or up. I went into ReZero, I'm gonna call it that because it's nice and short, thinking it was a harem, and it honestly still could be one. I haven't gotten that far into the show. The genre doesn't say it, but my friend said it was, so I don't know. But if it is a harem, it is one of the best harems I've ever seen through 3 or 4 episodes. Nonetheless, I have no idea what is really happening in the show. This kid is randomly summoned into this medieval world, apparently brought here by some girl, and then once he's here, a bunch of weird shit happens. I will say it is enjoyable, the 3 episodes I saw. The cast is enjoyable, no one seems too generic, it's got a nice Steins Gate sort of vibe to it, which this is made by White Fox, so that could be why. And it still needs some thawing out, but the tone is done very well. The show does a good job of building tension, which it's needed, or when it's needed. And the art and animation are beautiful, yet the CG crowds still are not quality enough in anime, and make it a little jarring at times and very noticeable. Still, I give it a I'm not sure if this is a harem or not out of 10. I'm kinda liking it. And here we have Hero Academy, the show that's supposed to keep the Western superhero hype until One Punch Man Season 2 comes out. And from the start we see that it has a whiny MC, and you're probably like, why are you crying so much, you little brat? And you can probably see that it's going to be an underdog story. And you're correct, because he has no powers in a world where everyone does have powers, but the show does develop him quickly enough to make his whininess sort of fade. He still cries some, though, and while the cast outside of All Might who is hilarious, doesn't stand out much. I felt they blend together very well. Also, being a superhero show, you need your periods of hype. And it does that, making throwing a softball exciting and emotional thanks to animation, music, and overall character development throughout the show so far. So I give a out of 10. Hey, it's pretty good. Hey, if all you want to do is just sit back, smoke some weed, and watch some calming, nurturing anime, then look no further than Flying Witch, where you get your dose of Harry Potter. Some Kiki's delivery service, yet not as exciting as either of those, not even close. We basically follow a witch who, well, is the calmest witch you will ever find, because she is one that nurtures the plants. But in this show, not much really seems to happen, but I think that's kind of the point. You sit back and just vibe to the show. Nonetheless, even if nothing happens, I still give this a nice, soothing smoke weed out of 420. It's pretty calming. Do you like mysterious, super strong spies who go around solving mysteries and also a show that has intriguing plot and good plot twists? Well, then I surely wouldn't watch Joker Game. At face value, it looks like it might be what I just explained. But, well, sadly, the characters are largely bland. In each episode, you jump to a different one, and you learn basically nothing about any of them in each episode. And I love learning about the period of World War II, even though this is a different version of World War II with a different timeline and everything. But the mysteries of the world are just not interesting. Even if it does have its moments, it tries too hard to be subtle and witty with its plot twists. And then, when the major reveal happens, I think 2 or 3 of the episodes I watched, the bad guy ended up just losing their shit at the end and he looks retarded. And that's basically the mystery. The guy loses its shit and there you go. And also the plot twists are pretty obvious from the start. So overall, bland out of 10. Meh. Wait, this is still going on? It didn't end the last... I guess I was wondering why it ended on episode 10 and it said there are 13 episodes. Oh well, I didn't really like it in the first place, so these last 3 episodes aren't really anything special, so it's just a slightly above average action anime. Art looks cool though. Ufotable, you did a good job with the art. I think that's actually why they had to stop production, because they kind of went broke with Unlimited Blade Works. I think that's what I heard. I don't know. I'd give it 1 or 2 episodes. Alright, let's get back to things that are halfway interesting. But here, we follow a man that is just... It's so cool! For his own good, he rides on hurricanes. Girls might get pregnant with just looking at him, and he could change the tides of war if it came to it. Because he is Sakamoto. And aside from him being so cool, the show has a decent variety of situations and comedy from the episodes I saw, yet I could see maybe getting a bit dull later on if they don't keep up with this kind of variety. You can only go so far with a man being so cool or super cool. And if you get nothing else out of the show, at least we got some dank gifts from it. So I say it's a Sakamoto out of 10. I wish I was that cool. Also, I enjoyed watching it. Speaking of cool individuals, here is the prequel to Magi, or Magi, I don't know how to pronounce it, that follows Sinbad himself and also Sinbad, who taught Sinbad his badass ways. And I feel this is almost better than the main series, so far at least, and at certain points, with a good balance of emotion, adventure, and action. It's also good to note that part of this show has some of the OVAs from Magi, in case you're wondering why there's like repeats in here if you've already seen the main series. And if you're wondering if you need to see the main show first, then I personally think it would be better to have seen the show and seen what Sinbad looks like when he's older, but you can get enjoyment without seeing it. So I say, what a badass, out of 5. I sure liked it. So you ever thought what it was like for Christopher Robin to play with Winnie the Pooh? Well, from anime's perspective, they must think it's a realistic talking bear that is mature, with a cute little girl that, of course, will do cute things with this big ball of fur. Yet I'm not sure if this is actually telling us a story, because the show acts like it was about this girl trying to go to high school, and the bear wouldn't let her go to high school until she kind of proved herself that she can handle herself in the city, because she's kind of in the hick territory and lives in the woods. Yet it then quickly turns into them having a dress-up session, and also some nice conversations about bear sex in a lolly. Oh, good times. I don't know if how far it went into the high school thing after that episode, but it seemed to be losing its way, so I don't really know. Also, the comedy for me was somewhat hit or miss, but at least the girls are just so cute. Nonetheless, Winnie the Pooh out of 10. It's okay. Alright, I have never played an Ace Attorney game in my life. I hope, though, that it's probably better than this anime adaptation. And from what I can tell, it is supposed to be a parody of the courtroom in modern day society. Yet it still feels a little clunky and like they're missing things that should be in the game. It doesn't flow well, for the most part, when it goes through cases. Most of them are pretty easy, rushed, and decently predictable. And yes, they have their glorification and outburst and excitement, but even those feel a little out of place, even if it is trying to be satirical or parodying. Also, when trying to figure out these court cases, you would think they would still have some sort of groundedness to figuring out the mystery where it would make sense to prove this man guilty or not guilty, but usually there's some sort of Deus Ex that comes into play, or one of the times it came into play to help him figure out the case, and it was basically a ghost that helped him figure it out, which is kind of strange. And also there are a few plot holes that come into play with a lot of these cases. And if nothing else, even if the cases are kind of weak, maybe the animation and the characters can kind of pick up for it, and honestly, through the four or five episodes I watched, I could not really point out any unique characteristics about any of the characters, other than maybe one, which Mr. Pink Hair guy, and even then, I still don't really care about who they are, and have no connection to them when it's coming to this court case. And also the animation is not the best either, but at least the music's decent, which I'm gonna guess they came from the games. But maybe if you enjoyed the games wholeheartedly and you're following it your whole life, you might love this adaptation, I'm not really sure. But from an outside perspective, it was kind of meh to me. But I still give it a nice, guilty out of 10, I'm not watching it anymore. Oh boy, Trigger's making a comeback with the connections to the people around us again. And you can of course tell this is Trigger just by the art style. The thing is, this story is kind of strangely put together. They just kind of took a bunch of kids that were in the same school, put them into some sort of program, and somehow these kids' connections to each other are supposed to save the world and bring peace. I'm really not sure how that's going to work, or honestly even where the show's going from where I stopped. But yet, I still enjoyed watching this confusing clusterfuck of events that happened. And even though I said a lot of things happened, it still is a little slower paced at times, and I could see how it might be a little slower paced later on. But I like the characters other than the MC, but some are kind of cliche. So overall, I have mixed feelings about it, I guess. I say, don't lose your way! Out of 10. Not the greatest thing in the world, but I'm gonna keep watching it because I enjoyed it. Alright, I like a good mystery. Who doesn't like a good mystery? And when I first read the description of this mystery show, I was decently intrigued, yet I ended not caring about it at all. Actually a little, mad. Or sad, I don't know, I'm so confused. Because it starts out with about 15 or so people who want to go live on this hidden village outside of everything. And there is its first issue. It has a cast of 15 or more people. I didn't count, I probably should go back and count. I don't know. It has a lot of people. And it does have an MC, but everyone can't get a development of all these people. Now this is like 20 episodes, 30 episodes, 50 episodes long, and it's only like 13, maybe another season, I don't know. And the cast isn't even good. There are a bunch of annoying, whiny, cliche, asshole characters, along with the fact that the pacing is slow, and when things do happen, they happen way too fast and feel pretty forced. Each episode ends on a pretty bad cliffhanger. And when it comes to a mystery, if nothing happens and I don't care about the world or the characters, how am I supposed to care about the actual mystery? As you can tell by what I've been saying, I say a don't watch out of 10. It's not even bad enough to get laughs at either. To me at least. Alright, I'm not even going to attempt to say this name in Japanese, but if you saw even a part of the PSO2, the commercial anime, then this show reminds me of it. Except this one is actually enjoyable, and has a decent story and characters, and there's no real commercialization. There is no commercialization at all. This story follows these kids who play this MMORPG together, who don't actually know who they are, and they decide to meet, and surprise ensues by who they find out who each character really is. And it's hard to find a show that uses gaming in any fashion and is actually good, and this is one that has a good balance of humor, character development, video games, and a nice little romance, and also some ecchi, but it doesn't take away from the show's actual story, just adds something nice to look at every now and then. And the cast is fun and play off each other well, with a preppy girl who has trouble distinguishing between reality and the game. And this was the large premise of the few episodes I did watch, and I could see this theme getting a little played out if it continues throughout, but it still seems like it has some promise. Nonetheless, I give it a yes. Girls do play video games, 2 out of 10. Give it a try if you like comedy, romance, and ecchis. Oh boy, to end off my watching spring, I ended on a good one. A nice old edgy shonen Code Geass ripoff anime that's poorly written with loads of deus, along with a bland cast, a nice bland generic OP MC who is somewhat bipolar, acting different in different scenes without a real hint, and I honestly had no idea who I was rooting for, not because of all the gray area everyone had, but because 1, I didn't know what the hell was going on, and 2, everyone's just a bunch of dicks. Also, the pacing's everywhere and honestly goes way too fast. And something I never usually have a problem with is music, but they have this, or use this upbeat jazz-like music to go with this dark, intense fight scene where they're trying to be all edgy and shit. Oh, also, surprise, Yuno's here from Miraniki, surprise. But lastly, I give it a edgy teen out of 5. I don't like this. And there we have my impressions of the few animes that somewhat caught my eye this spring, and I know I've become against giving straight up numbers to single animes, but I will rate this season as a whole, for the ones I've watched at least, and I give it a nice and strong 6.5 out of 10. It was decent, and kind of what I expected. A few good shows with some other enjoyable ones, and then a bunch of bland generic shows, but overall, nothing that really blew me away. Since this is my first time doing this, I probably have things that I can improve on. And if you have any ideas for what I could do to make these better, then let me know. Also, let me know what you thought of this season, and also shows that you think I should watch for the next season. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hoped I helped you save some time for not having to watch one of these animes you weren't sure about, or giving you an idea of another show that you could watch. But my name is the Arcane Keyblade, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.